The sustainable finance market reached a whole 900 billion US dollars in 2024, and this market is growing, or is expected to grow at a rate of 24% annually by the year 2032, and it's expected to be about 5 trillion US dollars. And here in Kenya, the Kenya Commercial Bank is leading the front when it comes to sustainable financing. And joining us this evening on the set is Mark Mwangela. He's the Director of Strategy and Innovation at KCB Group. He's going to guide us in this conversation and also help us understand why KCB is banking on sustainable financing. Thank you very much indeed, Mark, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Brian.
Very good. First of all, sustainable report that you released on sustainable financing, and give us the key numbers.
Yeah, so really excited to have released the 2024 KCB Group Sustainability Report. And it really speaks into the impactful actions that we've taken to drive sustainable growth. As an organization, we've come to the realization that for us to be successful, we have to drive our profitability in the context of success in the community that we are in. And so if you take the report, a lot of what we've spoken to is the actions that we've taken across the services that we offer, green lending, responsible lending. If you consider the elements around social impact, you'll find a lot of stories that we speak into the impact that we've had through understanding that for us to succeed, then we have to drive that success sustainably. You
talk about lending about 53.6 billion shillings.
Yes.
In sustainable financing. Was this in what we call green financing, or in projects that are transitioning into sustainable financing?
Into sustainable finance. And so what we've done as an organization is identify areas where there's a demand. So if you talk about renewable energy, if you talk about affordable housing, talk about a circular economy, there's a lot of waste that's sector. Identifying these areas and then working on solutions that enable individuals, businesses, corporates to be able to take advantage of solutions that drive sustainable practices, so that there is benefit for the communities.
And when you look at sustainable financing now, it constitutes about 23% of your lending book. Your plan to growth is to about 25%. What is going to drive this growth?
So I think when we started, we set ourselves an ambitious goal. So beyond the words that we want to be a sustainable organization is to really put action into what we intend to do. And what we did within the organization is start screening all our lending services going out, all the projects that we are lending, to make sure projects that continue to sustain the environment, ensure that there is proper social practice, drive ethical management. And that has enabled us then to remain responsible when we are lending. And I think for us, where we are is, as we talk about 25%, is how can we embed it into our practices so that it becomes what we do every day. You're agreeing with vendors on our procurement is we push sustainability as part of both our internal operations, and then, as we interact with businesses, individuals, as we are lending, just to drive the understanding of sustainability. And so the moment it becomes BAU, it's only a matter of time that consistently all our lending will be going to businesses that are driving the sustainability agenda.
And thank God you brought about the issue of net zero lending. And early this month, we saw the collapse of the net zero, well, what do we call it? The Net Zero Banking Alliance. It was shut down, and you are a member of that organization. It had major corporations like JP Morgan, Barclays Bank, among many other global conglomerates. How was this news received at KCB?
So I think for us, part of our signing was to ensure that we continue to commit to the agenda, that our practices, as we offer our services, we continue to do that. In the conscious understanding of the climate risk that we currently face, the environmental issue, the social inequities, being able to be cognizant that in the environment that we're in with these challenges, how do we continue to be that organization that is leading from the front? Now, as much as the commitment, specifically the net zero initiative, has collapsed, the ambition stays. Is that we do know we want to do good for people, which within our purpose, in the heart of our purpose, is to really drive impact for people, for better, and that continues to stay irrespective of the collapse of the initiative.
Is this likely to change your strategy going forward?
Absolutely not. If anything, it gives us, I think, what we've seen. If I speak to some of the impact that we've seen, I'll tell you, we've taken a program to solarize schools, for instance, and starting with 100 schools, being able to change and transform their cooking from the traditional methods that they use to clean energy, being able to change their lighting to solar, being able to deploy solar-based water pumps. And you get to see the impact that is having on schools. If you talk about the rider, I just saw the story of a rider that has started a business that, he's been able to get multiple motorbikes. We've started an e-mobility program that is targeting 100,000 riders. And what we are doing with that program is to ensure that as they get e-bikes, the advantage they get as a benefit is that they spend less and therefore they are left with more. And so as much as they're doing this on credit, they have more and therefore the ability to be able to pay. When you look at the impact that we continue to have on the programs that we set out, it really gives us the heart to continue doing that and really looking at more partners who are now joining on this, whether it's governments, development, financial institutions, who are also interested to keep driving sustainable practices within our environment.
There you go. Yeah. Mark, I want you to hold on there. We'll be coming back with more conversation. You're watching this broadcast live from our national headquarters. We're having a conversation around sustainable financing, and we're in the company of Mark Mwongela. He's the Director of Strategy and Innovation at Kenya Commercial Bank. We are taking a short break, and thereafter we are coming back with a lot of more conversations. Welcome back. We are watching the Prime Edition live from Broadcasting House. We're in the company of Mark Mwongela. He's the Director of Strategy and Innovation at KCB Group. Our conversation tonight is on sustainable financing. And we were discussing the Net Zero Banking Alliance and the collapse of this institution, which brought more than 170 large banking corporations together with an asset base of more than $75 trillion US. Sent shockwaves around the world. And it was being seen as the future, of sustainable financing. But now with the collapse of these, who do you think is likely to take over that mantle of leadership?
I think what we've seen, and especially as we build on our agenda with driving sustainable finance, is a lot of the development finance institutions. I'll take cognizance that KCB is one of the banks that has been certified by GCF to drive over 15 billion in terms of green lending, and we've gotten a grant. And we're looking at how can we drive that impact with MSMEs. And so if you start looking at what a lot of the development financial partners are doing, is it speaks into their cognizance of that gap and them being able to come and join us and drive the right partnership so that we can address opportunities that exist in sustainable finance.
And you have been in this position for the last 6 months, coming from Singapore, which is a highly developed country. What lessons can we draw from what Singaporean companies are doing and implement it here in Kenya?
I think usually I love picking examples. If you see how Singapore has done their waste management, I think one of the biggest concerns that we learned during a recent conference is a challenge that Nairobi specifically has with waste management, especially if you look at the area where Dandora is. And Singapore has been able to build a circular, and all their waste goes through recycling, both upcycling, downcycling. And so if it's plastic material, it's taken and it's recycled, and it comes out again and it's reused. If it's, let's say, items that cannot be recycled, if you look at their water, how they're able to recycle their water. So there's a sustainable ecosystem that they have built across water, across waste, that is driving a sustainable community And it's really a beauty to watch. I think for anyone who visits Singapore, beyond the buildings, what you will really find is a community that has built sustainability embedded completely into their day-to-day lives. That's something that really stands out about.
And you know something also very interesting. I mean, there is a concept similar to what you're talking about. Just about 70 kilometers from where we are at Concert Technopolis, and a lot of people don't know these, but when you go there, that's when you realize what is circular economy, waste management, how it is recycled and put into different use. But I just also want to hear this from you. When you look at sustainable financing, where do you see growth coming from going forward?
I think it's two ways. If you look on the demand side, there's a lot of businesses now. If you pick sectors, let's say agriculture, there are a lot of businesses that are looking at sustainable finance as a way for them to be able to drive beyond the current business they do. If I give an example, export businesses, there's a lot of export businesses that, in car wastage. We learned recently that wastage, food wastage, if it was quantified in numbers of countries, it will be the third country after China and India. And so you can imagine if all of us took the right step to give opportunities to businesses that are within the agriculture sector, which are involved in producing with their wastage. And it's simple things. It's things such as canning, just being able to can your surplus, being able to can any of the surplus or additional extra they have. It enables them to continue to be sustainable. So it's taking cognizance of the different sectors, the challenges that you have in the different sectors, whether it's agriculture, whether it's fashion. We got to learn about what happens. We import clothes, but then who follows through on all the after usage in terms of fashion. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to look at how we can address the issues that are coming across sectors. And I think a lot of financial institutions, KCB included, is really committed, really putting your action to be able to drive the right growth in terms of sustainability.
And when you're talking to your customers, and I was going through the report where you're talking about you screened more than 500 billion shillings worth of lending requests. Are your customers conscious about sustainable financing?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the areas that we realize we have to keep speaking about the message. So while we've done a lot of work internally to make sure that as we're lending, we screen all the projects that we're doing, we still have to communicate to the customers, to the last mile. I'll tell you, a lot of the MSMEs today hear about sustainability, and to them it's still a new concept. So we've taken the right steps to ensure that as we lend, we speak to businesses about what it really means in terms of the impact you have on the environment, the impact that you have on the society, governance issues such as ethical management, so that we can really drive that message to the last mile to the businesses that we're lending. And that way, it really has a sustainable impact in the message when we are working with businesses.
And when you look at Kenya, I mean, it's a highly agri-economy. It's an agricultural based economy. And when you look at the impact of climate change, it's costing the economy about 2 to 3% in terms of economic growth. And this is becoming a very big challenge. Are you planning to deepen your investment in more sustainable agriculture?
And I'll tell you, both on the demand and on the supply side. So there are a lot of businesses that are going through those, taking the solutions, but there are also businesses that are working on solutions that will drive climate smart technology. And so for us, deepening both our support on the demand and the supply side is something that we are really looking to do.
Which sector of the agriculture are you looking at, and where are you seeing a lot of potential?
I think it's right across. A lot of what has really come to us is the export, the horticulture. A lot of the exporters, largely because they are impacted by the high standards that they have to meet, and therefore to manage their costs, they want to be able to adopt sustainable practices. That's one. Other areas such as tea, what we've known for the longest time, just being able to build the right practices around the tea farms and how they package, and they're all looking for solutions that can enable them to do that sustainably. And so it's right, it cuts across board, but we find a lot of the businesses that are involved in the export business because of high standards and high costs to be those who are really the early adopters of sustainable finance. Yeah.
And looking inwardly as an institution, what strategies are you putting in place to also to ensure that you become a smart institution?
Yeah, so we've looked at our operations and we've said as much as we are committing to support businesses that are doing, we ourselves have taken cognizance of the risk that we bring as we offer our services. We have, for instance, one of the largest banking services networks, if you look in terms of our branches. So being able to ask ourselves, how do we remain, leave our operations within the branches and have sustainable practices, whether it comes to wastage printing, the basic things such as printing. As we offer our services through the branch network, how do we sustain or how do we drive the right practices with our staff? When you think about the people element as well, how do we support the staff that are actually delivering the service to the customers? Because the staff are the heart of the business. How do we support the staff, and the steps that we've taken to ensure that staff are well trained, they're well taken care of? If you look at our report in 2024, we've really gone deep into our employee support program and the things that we've done to really ensure the people who are standing with us as we offer the services, our staff, are really at the front and taken care of. So it's just looking at our operations and taking every opportunity to make sure that we are practicing what we are preaching. Yeah.
And when you look at your banking strategy for the year 2024, 2026, you're really talking about in investing in digital banking services.
Yeah.
How is this coming along?
So, it's one of our very exciting areas. We recently launched one of the few mobile platforms that enable you to create an account without having to step in a branch. And so right at home, you download a mobile application, you're able to take a photo, scan your ID, and we use technology as a way to onboard. And what that really speaks to is to drive financial inclusion to the last mile. We do know that today, yes, smartphones are continuing to, possibly in a lot of the urban areas, but we've seen the growth of smartphones, and we know that over time, it'll be easy for, any youth who is based anywhere. If you take any of the regions and any of the places that we are in the 7 countries, any youth will be able to pick their phone, create an account and start enjoying digital services without having to walk to a branch and get access to loans and credit to fund any activity that they have. A lot of youth are really looking at the digital era as a way to drive their economic activity, being able to start your content creation business, accessing those loans where we see digital as a way to drive and give access to the youth and give them opportunities to create jobs for themselves and also build businesses that are creating jobs for others. So really a full empowered in terms of digital leadership. Yeah.
You operate in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC Congo.
Yeah.
You're also there.
Yeah.
You also have representative offices in Dubai.
In Ethiopia.
And Ethiopia as well.
Yeah.
Are you also driving sustainable financing in those other countries as well?
Across the group, and I think very excited that this is one report that we've taken the time to look at the whole group. It is an assured report. I think one of the only 2 assured reports in that we've worked with an agency to look at how we are communicating numbers. You'd understand that in reporting, one of the biggest challenges is greenwashing, just talking about the positives. But what we've done is really take the whole group. If you take Uganda, for instance, through our KCB Foundation, which is driving empowerment, scholarships to ensure access for youth in education, we've been able to support 100,000 youth in terms of empowerment in Uganda. If you take Rwanda, in terms of the staff, we talked about the operations, internal operations. Rwanda BPR, which is the brand that we have in Rwanda, was amongst the first to adopt a women breastfeeding unit. And so it really provides women the right environment for them when they're coming to the branches and to offer services. It really speaks to the commitment that we have. So it's really across the group, and really it's exciting for us to be able to speak to some of these actions that we've been able to take. Yeah.
And as we also come to the end of this conversation, you know, sustainable financing, I mean, it's not all about lending to green initiatives. It's also embracing practices that are pro-human.
Yeah.
And you have talked about, you know, creating lactating rooms for mothers in Rwanda. Are you planning to replicate the same here in Kenya? And number two, if you visit many banking halls in Kenya, you see long queues of people waiting to be served. There are no washrooms. People are not allowed to speak on, to pick their calls. Is this likely to change going forward with KCB now embracing sustainable practices?
Absolutely, and I mean, we just spoke about digital leadership, and what we've seen is, as of last year, 2024, 99% of transactions that were on our, you know, through the business were done on digital platforms, and so customers no longer need to access a branch so that they can be able to access a financial service. And so just committing into the transformation that digital technology has on our business, that's one. Two, when you talk about the practices that we've seen across the group, really it's almost a challenge for us. It's a rallying call for us to be able to pick what has worked in some of these communities and then ask, how do we bring that across the group? And it's an exciting period when we get to sit as a group together and review how can we, at our scale, be able to drive sustainable practices across.
Very good.
Yeah, across
Mark, before I let you go, tell us this. Where do you see sustainable financing going here in Kenya in the next 5 years?
I think it is one of the fastest growing, I'd say, trends that we've seen in this region. I do believe with all the partnerships that we've seen that are interested in East Africa, there is only room for more. There are a lot of institutions, there are a lot of businesses, there are a lot of individuals that are beginning to understand what sustainability means for them across youth, across women, you know, women-led businesses, and being able to take advantage, how they can be able to take advantage. I think it's one of the areas that we're really going to see driving true impact in our society and real change to really have a prosperous future.
Very good.
Yeah.
Mark Mongela, thank you very much indeed for joining us
Thank you,
tonight.
Brian. Really appreciate the time.
Very good indeed. Mark Mongela is the Director of Strategy and Innovation at KCB Group, joining us tonight to help us with their conversation around sustainable financing. You're watching the Prime Edition. A short break is well deserved. We are back with more stories.